I didn't believe in rules, not the weird kind anyway. The sort of rules whispered about on forums with black backgrounds and blood-red text, shared late at night by teenagers trying to spook one another. I believed in real things like credits, scores, deadlines, and the bitter sting of regret. But I also believed in cheap motel rooms. And that's what brought me to room 313. The desert wind had a voice that night. It whispered things I didn't want to hear, brushing against my car windows as I pulled into the cracked parking lot of the Hollow Creek Motor Lodge. The neon sign buzzed erratically, one of the owls flickering, making it read more like Owl Creek, a fitting name, I thought. This place had a hollow kind of dread to it, even from the outside. I was on the road to nowhere. A business trip that didn't matter, a pitch that wouldn't land. A life unraveling slowly, the way a cigarette burns even when you're not paying attention. I didn't care where I slept, as long as it was cheap and quiet. The front office was empty when I walked in. There was a bell, but I didn't ring it. Something about the silence was sacred, like I was intruding on a forgotten place. The air smelled like mildew and burnt coffee. Behind the desk, a single room key hung from a nail, an old-fashioned brass one, with a tag that read 313. I called out, "Hello." Nothing. Then a rustle. A man emerged from the back office, tall, sunken-eyed, with skin like leather and a shirt that might have been white once. He looked at me the way a taxidermy deer might look at a hunter caught, but unmoving. "You sure you want this one?" he asked, not bothering to fake a smile. I raised an eyebrow. "You got other options?" He shook his head slowly. "Just the one. Tonight, room 313. He held out the key like it was a burden, not an offering. "I've stayed in worse," I muttered, taking it. He didn't move, didn't blink, just said, "There's 11 rules. You follow 'em, you sleep. You break 'em. I smirked. "Let me guess. I die horribly." His lips twitched, but it wasn't a smile. "Something like that." He handed me a folded piece of yellowed paper, the kind that felt old even if it wasn't, typed out in faded ink with the rules. The rules of room 313: never knock twice. If the door doesn't open, wait. It always opens eventually. Do not turn on the TV after midnight. It plays what you shouldn't see. Leave a coin on the windowsill every night. It's not payment, it's protection. Don't look under the bed, even if you hear breathing. Keep the bathroom mirror covered, especially during thunderstorms. Don't answer the phone if it rings more than 3 times. Never open the closet, even if you hear crying. Don't sleep with your back to the door. Always check the chair in the corner. If someone's sitting, don't acknowledge them. If you wake up at 3:13 a.m., do not move, not until the knocking stops. Check out before dawn, not a minute later. I laughed. "Is this some kind of theme room?" The man didn't answer, just turned and walked back into the office. I stood there a moment longer, staring at the rules. They felt wrong. Not silly, not funny, just off. Like an inside joke I wasn't part of. The walk to room 313 was short. The motel had only one floor, the rooms arranged in a long horseshoe around a patch of dead grass and a dry fountain. I passed 309, 311, then stopped. Room 313. The brass numbers were crooked, tarnished. The door was painted a dull green, chipped at the corners. I took a breath. A knock. Once. Nothing. Twice. A soft sound behind the door like a breath, or a footstep. I stepped back. The door creaked open by itself. I blinked. Okay, that's weird. Still, I stepped inside. The room was normal, dusty, sure, outdated. A floral bedspread that had seen better decades. A CRT television on a wooden dresser. A stiff-looking armchair in the corner. The bathroom door was ajar. The closet door was closed. Everything looked just how it shouldn't, normal, but with a tension underneath, like a smile with too many teeth. I tossed my bag on the bed and looked around. The mirror in the bathroom wasn't covered, I found a towel and draped it over it anyway. Just in case, the windowsill had a thin layer of dust. I dug a quart out of my pocket and placed it there. It clinked loudly. Night fell fast in the desert. I tried to watch TV, but it only showed static, even at 10 p.m. I turned it off. Ate some leftover gas station snacks. Tried to sleep, but I couldn't. The air felt too heavy. Like the room was watching me back. I got up to double check the rules. Then I saw it. The chair. When I entered the room, it had been empty. Now. There was a shape, not clear, not solid, just an impression, a shadow heavier than the others. Sitting there. I didn't look at it, didn't acknowledge it. My heart pounded like a war drum. I turned slowly and climbed into bed, keeping my eyes forward. I didn't turn my back to the door. And when the phone rang at 2 a.m. once, twice, 3 times, I let it go. It rang again. A 4th time. I stared at it. Then silence. My heart didn't slow. Not until 3:13 a.m. when I woke up again. Knocking. Soft. Deliberate. At the door. I didn't move. Knock. Knock. I held my breath. Knock. From the bathroom. This time. Knock. From the closet. Asterisk. Knock. From under the bed. I shut my eyes. Pretended I didn't hear. Remembered the rule. Don't move. Not until the knocking stops. So I waited. Waited until the sun bled through the curtains. The knocking stopped at dawn. Asterisk. The sun cast long, thin rays through the crooked blinds, as if it were afraid to enter room 313 fully. I lay still for a while, trying to pretend the night hadn't happened the way it did. I told myself it was exhaustion, an overactive imagination fueled by stale snacks and creepypasta-style warnings. But even as I rubbed my eyes, I saw the bruises on my arm, long, thin, purplish marks that hadn't been there yesterday. Like fingers. I showered quickly, kept my eyes away from the mirror. Even though the towel had slipped off in the middle of the night, I didn't put it back. I avoided my reflection entirely. Something about seeing myself in this room felt like a bad idea. Like I'd catch my own eyes and not see myself anymore outside. The world felt normal, too normal. A sun that burned too hot, an empty parking lot. No birds, no wind. The desk clerk was gone. The office door was locked. I tried knocking, peering through the smudged glass, but it was like the man had never existed. I wanted to leave, get in my car and drive far away from Hollow Creek. But the rule stuck in my head. 11. Check out before dawn. Not a minute later. It was already past 9 a.m. I was late. When I got back to my room, the coin I had left on the windowsill was gone. Not moved. Not dropped. Just gone. I searched the floor, the dresser, even under the bed before I stopped myself and remembered rule number 4. My heart thudded in my throat as I realized what I'd done. I crawled back out quickly, trying not to think about the feeling I'd had while under there. That sense of breathless silence, like something holding its lungs, waiting for me. I decided to pass time outside, walk the perimeter, see if I could find any other guests, but the place was dead. The other rooms, some with cracked doors, some sealed shut, were all empty. Room 301 had a decaying mattress by the door. Room 307 had red handprints on the inside of the window. No sign of life. I returned to 313. The door was ajar. I hadn't left it like that. My skin crawled as I pushed it open slowly. Everything looked the same. The bed, the TV, the bathroom door, except the closet but was open. Just a crack, no more than a sliver. But it hadn't been before. I remembered rule number 7. Never open the closet. Even if you hear crying. I hadn't heard crying. Not yet. But something about the tiny gap in the door made my breath catch. I moved toward it slowly, as if pulled. Why? I don't know. Maybe I thought I could just close it. Push the door gently and lock it. Seal away whatever made this place feel like it was pressing in on me. I reached out. My fingers brushed the wood. And then I heard it sniffling soft, fragile, the sound of someone sobbing quietly into their hands. It came from the closet, from behind the door. I froze. The rules. But the door was already open. Technically. What if someone needed help? I leaned closer. Hello. I whispered. The crying stopped. Dead silence. I turned to leave. But then the door creaked wider, by itself, inside. Pitch black, and a face, not fully formed. Just features. Pale skin. Eyes like hollow sockets. A mouth that seemed to wide. Smiling. It launched from the darkness. I slammed the door and fell back, scrambling, heart racing. It didn't come out. Nothing followed. But the door stayed open now, unmoving. I shoved a chair against it, breathed hard. Told myself it wasn't real. Then the crying started again, from under the bed. That night, I didn't sleep. I turned the mirror to the wall, left a coin on the sill, ignored the phone, watched the chair. But the closet. It creaked every hour, like it was breathing. At 3:13 a.m. I woke again, not from knocking. From a whisper. We saw you. I didn't think I'd fall asleep again. Not in that room. Not after everything. The crying from under the bed. The figure in the closet. The whisper at 3:13 a.m. But sometime after 4 a.m. I must have blacked out. Not sleep exactly. More like the body giving up. When I woke, it was broad daylight. The coin was still on the windowsill this time. That should have comforted me. It didn't. The closet door, of course, was open again. Wider now. The chair I had wedged under the handle was turned sideways, like it had been tossed. That's when I noticed something new. Scratches. On the floor. Deep, narrow grooves in the wood, leading from the closet to the side of the bed. Like fingernails. I stumbled out of the room and dry heaved over the motel's empty flower bed. It was too much. Whatever game was being played, I didn't want to play anymore. I tried to leave again. This time, I didn't care about the checkout rule. I threw my bag in the trunk, slid behind the wheel, and turned the key. Nothing. The car didn't even pretend to try. Not a sputter. Not a whir. I checked my phone. Dead. Black screen. Even the motel's front office was sealed, as if it had never existed. I slammed my fist on the wheel. Then I heard it. A phone ringing. Not my phone. The room's phone. Once. Twice. 3 times. I froze. Don't answer the phone if it rings more than 3 times. I waited. The 4th ring came. Something inside me cracked. I ran back into the room, slamming the door shut behind me. The phone was still ringing. I shouldn't have moved. I shouldn't have gone in. But I couldn't not know. Not anymore. I picked up the receiver. Static. Then a voice. Low. Male. Dry like old paper. You heard it. I tried to speak. My throat wouldn't work. You opened the closet. I didn't mean to. It doesn't matter. It saw you. What does it want? You. But it can take you yet. Not until 3:13. You still have time. What happens at 3:13? The voice paused. It comes through. Then silence. The line went dead. I held the receiver for a long time before setting it down. That's when I noticed something in the reflection of the TV screen. Not the screen itself, it was off, but the reflection. The mirror in the bathroom. The towel was gone again. And something was standing in front of the sink. I turned slowly. Stepped toward the bathroom door. The light inside flickered. My own reflection was not what I saw first. It was a woman. Pale. Hair wet and stringy. Face obscured by shadow. Just standing there in the mirror, behind where my reflection should have been. I slammed the door shut and covered the mirror with my jacket. My hands were shaking so bad I had to sit on the floor. No sleep. No escape. No help. Just the rules. I read them again, over and over, looking for a loophole, something I could use. They were clear, direct, like commandments. But something about #10. If you wake at 3:13 a.m., do not move. Not until the knocking stops. Something in that phrasing. It didn't say The knocking would stop, just that I couldn't move until it did. What if it never did? I watched the sun set again. The room dimmed with every passing hour. I wanted to scream, tear down the walls, but the fear of drawing attention, that was worse. When the phone rang again, I didn't touch it. This time, it rang 5 times. Then, stop. Then silence, until 3:13. I woke with my heart already pounding. Knock. From the door. Knock. From under the bed. Knock. From the closet. Knock. From inside the bathroom. Knock. Behind the TV. Knock. From the ceiling. Knock. From the pillow beside me. I didn't move. My muscles screamed, my jaw ached, my eyes watered. Knock. Then a voice, right beside my ear. You broke the rules. I shut my eyes tighter. You let it ring. A hand touched my ankle. Then it stopped. Just as the first trace of light filtered through the curtains. Asterisk. The next morning was different. I knew it the second my eyes opened, not because of what I saw, but what I didn't. The room was silent, still, and sterile in a way that didn't feel natural. No wind outside. No distant truck from the highway. No buzzing lights. And no birds. Again. The mirror, covered with my jacket, had fallen to the floor, shattered. I didn't hear it happen. There wasn't even a scratch on the tile around it. Just the jacket lying limp, and the mirror glass arranged in careful shards, like a mosaic. Like someone or something had placed them there. I didn't move for a full 10 minutes. Eventually, my bladder forced me out of bed. I stepped gingerly over the shards, careful not to catch my reflection in any of them. I was halfway through brushing my teeth when I realized I had stopped humming halfway through the routine. The bathroom light flickered once, then again. In the broken mirror, I saw movement, not mine, not behind me, beneath me. Something inside the shard shifted, like watching shadows bend under ice. I snatched the towel from the rack and dropped it over the floor. I couldn't take much more. It was only day to. I needed help. Anyone. I started pounding on the neighboring motel doors. Room 311. Room 309. Nothing. I checked the windows shut tight, curtains drawn. I walked the perimeter, kicked the broken fountain, yelled. No one. That's when I saw it. Room 315. The door slightly open, not my room. That in itself should have terrified me, but I was past that point. I needed someone to tell me I hadn't lost my mind. I knocked. Once. Waited. Twice. The door creaked inward. The room was empty, dusty. The bed hadn't been made in weeks, maybe months. A half-eaten meal on the side table. Flies, a camera tripod in the corner. Not the high-end kind, a vlogger's rig. There were notebooks scattered across the bed. Dozens of pages, some handwritten, some typed. I flipped through one. Room 313. 11 rules to stay alive. The rest was a mess of frantic notes. The mirror is a window. TV knows you're there. She's not a ghost. She's the first. Every knock is her trying to remember your face. I kept reading. Page after page of horrifying observations, dates, times, drawings of faces, barely human. One line repeated over and over. Don't let her see herself. My mouth went dry. A photo slid out from between the pages. Blurry, taken from an angle, but unmistakable. Room 313. The mirror, and the woman in it. Her head twisted too far, her mouth stretched too wide. Her hand on the glass. Another note. She mimics. That's how she learns. The mirror is how she gets out. I dropped the photo and ran. I slammed the door to 313 behind me and turned to the mirror space. The towel was gone again. The floor was clean, no broken glass, but I hadn't cleaned it. I backed away slowly, my eyes locked on the empty frame. And then she appeared, not dramatically, not like a horror movie jump scare. Just there, as though she'd always been there, standing in the mirror, matching my movements but subtly wrong. The tilt of her head off by degrees, her eyes slightly too large, her smile twitching. She didn't blink when I did. She raised her hand. So did I. Then I stopped. But she didn't. Her hand pressed against the glass and cracked it. A jagged line shot across the frame. Then another, like lightning branching through ice. I backed away. The lights went out. When they came back on, she was gone. The mirror was whole again. I didn't sleep. Not really. I just stared at the ceiling until the shadows shifted from night to a dim, nauseous morning. The kind of pale light that doesn't comfort, only makes the horrors easier to see. I hadn't checked under the bed. Rule number 4 kept echoing in my mind. Don't look under the bed, even if you hear breathing. But the thing is, I had heard breathing. 4 hours, soft, steady, just on the edge of awareness. I told myself it was the air vent, or my imagination. But the longer I stayed in room 313, the harder it became to lie. To myself, the breathing wasn't just a sound, it changed. Sometimes it sped up, sometimes it gasped. Last night, after the mirror cracked, I could have sworn it laughed. I stayed on top of the covers, fully clothed, lights on. Every few minutes, I'd glance at the space beneath the bed. Still dark, still silent, but I could feel it, watching me. Around 8 a.m., I decided to try the office again. The door was locked, of course. But this time, there was a note taped to the glass. You broke Rule 6. We can't help you anymore. I stared at it, bile rising in my throat. Rule 6. The phone. No one had signed the note. No handwriting, just block printed text. It hadn't been there yesterday. I banged on the glass until my hand robbed. Nothing. I went back to my room. The bed had been made. I hadn't done that. Worse still, there was something new lying on the pillow. Not a chocolate, not a welcome note. A tooth, small, yellowed. Human. I recoiled like it was a scorpion. The breathing from under the bed picked up. I snapped, grabbed the desk lamp and shined it beneath the bed. The beam barely pierced the shadows, and then I saw it. Fingers. Long, pale fingers, wrapped around the wooden bed frame from the inside. I scrambled back, hit the dresser, nearly knocked over the TV. My heart hammered in my chest. The fingers didn't move. They didn't need to, because now I could hear something else scratching, faint, methodical, like nails against wood. I backed into the corner and slid down the wall, curling into myself. I stayed like that 4 hours. I only moved when the sun began to set, because that's when the whispers started. At first, I thought they were outside the window. Then I realized they were under the bed. Come closer, they said, in a child's voice. We miss you. No one else comes anymore. We want to see you, just your face. Rule number 4. But I was unraveling. I pulled the mattress off the frame, threw it across the room, grabbed the lamp again. This time, I shoved it all the way under. There was a hole in the floor, a perfect circle. 2 perfect dots, and within it. A face. Pale, upside down, eyes black as oil, mouth stretched into a grin of broken teeth. It opened its mouth and screamed. A sound like static and sirens, like metal twisting inside my skull. I dropped the lamp and fell back, hands over my ears. Then everything went dark. When I woke, the bed was back together, the mattress neatly made, the lamp unplugged and standing, tall, and the coin on the windowsill gone again. I tried something different that evening. Instead of waiting for darkness to fall, I lit every light I could find, dug through drawers, pulled the light bulb from the closet fixture and jammed it into a lamp. Sat every flashlight app I could download while I still had signal earlier. On my desk, screen brightness maxed. The room glowed like a miniature sun. I wasn't going to give her shadows to hide in, but room 313 didn't care about light or logic. The moment the sun dipped below the horizon, the glow dimmed, not in a natural way, not like bulbs dying, but as if the light itself was being drained. By 10 p.m., only the desk lamp still glowed, and even that was flickering like a candle in a storm. That's when the first knock came. One, slow, heavy, from the door. I didn't move. I remembered the rule, never knock twice. If the door doesn't open, wait. But I hadn't knocked. So why was someone else Another knock. Louder dot then, without warning knock. Knock dot twice dot. And then dot 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 a third. I backed toward the corner of the room, keeping the chair in sight. It was empty, for now. But the knocks didn't stop. They moved dot to the window dot tap, tap. I crept toward it. The curtain was shut tight. My fingers trembled as I reached for the fabric dot. And then the knock came from inside the bathroom. I froze dot tap dot tap dot tap dot. Then, a pause. A soft voice from inside the bathroom. Can I come in now? My skin crawled. The voice was feminine, childlike, to sweet dot like a little girl mimicking a lullaby she didn't understand. Please, I'm cold. Silence. Then from under the bed, let her in. I fell to my knees, clutching my ears. This wasn't sound. It was infection creeping into my bones. A knock from the closet. A knock from the TV screen. A knock from the inside of my pillow. I screamed. And the light blew out. Darkness swallowed everything dot. And then she was there dot, not through the door, not from under the bed, but next to me. She looked like the girl in the mirror. But closer now, too close, face inches from mine. Eyes wide, milky white, her mouth hung open, and inside were teeth far too many, all cracked and jagged like glass shards. Dot she didn't move. Didn't breathe, just stared dot, until she raised one hand dot and knocked dot once on my chest dot twice dot 3 times. I couldn't scream, couldn't blink. My body was locked dot she whispered. You never left. My vision went black. I don't remember hitting the floor. I woke up in daylight, gasping, drenched in sweat. The room was pristine again, bed made, closet shut. Mirror covered dot coin on the windowsill back in place. Dot the only thing different. A new note, folded on the desk. You broke more than the rules. You broke the cycle. And below it, tonight, the rules change. Asterisk I didn't sleep the next night. I didn't even try dot by then. I'd stopped pretending I understood the rules. Something had changed. They weren't protecting me anymore, they were evolving. Mocking me, I sat at the desk, hands trembling, and opened the drawer again. The rules sheet was gone dot in its place. A new list, same aged paper, same faint reading, but now there were 12, 1, never knock twice dot 2. If the chair is rocking, do not sit dot 3. Cover the mirror after sunset dot 4. Ignore the fourth ring. 5. Do not look under the bed. 6. Place a coin on the W at the OWSILL dot 7. Burn the note. If it's wet, point 8. Never answer a voice that says your name, point 9. Keep the closet door open after 2 a.m. 10. Do not sleep between 3 o'clock and 3:33 a.m. 11. Leave no lights on when you check out dot 12. If rule 12 appears, it's already too late. I read it twice, then a third time. That final rule felt like a noose tightening around my throat. If rule 12 appears, it's already too late. I don't remember dropping the paper, but it fluttered to the ground like an autumn leaf. I stared at it, expecting it to vanish, change, burn dot. It didn't. But the light bulbs in the ceiling popped, one after the other dot pop dot pop dot pop dot darkness dot again dot. Only this time, I was ready. All I thought I was. I pulled the dresser in front of the closet door, tied the bathroom shut with the belt from the robe, stacked furniture against the window. I didn't want shadows. I wanted a bunker dot. My breath echoed in the silence, too loud. I held it dot, and then my name, whispered, soft dot from all directions, Eli. A pause dot, then louder, Eli, this time from inside my ear. I slapped the side of my head. Nothing there, I screamed, but it came out choked, half swallowed by the air around me dot. And then my phone lit up. One new voicemail. I hadn't heard it ring, shaking. I played it dot. It was me dot. My voice dot. Panic dot. Desperate. Don't let her in. Don't knock. Whatever you do, don't say her name. Don't say. Click. The message ended. I hadn't recorded that. Not that I remembered. A knock from the window. Then the mirror dot. Then under the bed. All at once. I squeezed my eyes shut and screamed again. When I opened them, the room had changed. The walls were decayed, peeling. The ceiling sagged as if heavy with water. Mold bloomed across the carpet like a bruise. The bed sheets were yellowed. Rotten. I was no longer in room 313. Or rather, I was in its true form. The illusion had broken. And now, Rule 12 made sense. I turned slowly. Behind me, the girl stood. Except, she wasn't a girl anymore. She had my face, half melted, half screaming, one eye missing, a gaping maw where the voice had come from. "I am the 12th, she said. "And so are you." Then she opened her mouth wider, far too wide, and let out a sound that tore the wallpaper, cracked the mirror, and made my teeth bleed. I blacked out. When I awoke, I was sitting in the chair, rocking gently. Back. Forth. Back. A note in my lap. "Welcome to the cycle." I looked at the desk. A fresh sheet of rules waited. 11 again. And the door creaked open. Another guest stepped in. The cycle had restarted. And this time I was the one in the mirror. Asterisk. I stood at the threshold again. Door still open. The cycle had restarted. But something was wrong. This time, I didn't step out of the room. I stepped back in. The new guest, some wide-eyed college kid dragging a suitcase, froze as I passed him by. He couldn't see me. Not really, but some part of him felt me. The temperature shift. The pressure in the air. The door slammed shut behind us both, and I was trapped. Again. I'd seen this before. A memory. No more like a recording. Reality on loop. Except this time, I could move freely. Also I thought. The walls pulsed like breathing flesh. The mirror trembled before shattering on its own. The bed unmade itself. And the coin on the windowsill blackened as if burnt. I reached for the doorknob. Lock. No rules this time. No guidance. But a new item appeared on the desk. A peephole viewer. Like one from a door, but loose. Heavy brass. Cold. I picked it up, and a whisper curled into my ears. "Look, look, look." Against my better judgment, I raised the viewer. Instead of the door, I saw a hallway I didn't recognize, long, endless, lined with doors. Each marked 313. Each door throbbed. I turned the viewer slightly and the hallway turned too. The doors opened, every single one. Inside each, a version of me. One was screaming. Another rocking in a chair. One clawing at the mirror, his face flayed open. Another curled up in the closet. Some were dead, some worse. The whisper came again. "Choose." The viewer cracked in my hand. Blood leaked from my palm, but I couldn't drop it. My eyes were locked. Suddenly, all the versions turned, looked at me. And in unison, we are waiting. I dropped the viewer, or tried. It stuck to my skin like it was fused. My vision spun. Now I stood in that hallway. The real one, not a reflection, not a vision. And every door opened again. Hands reached out, grasping, pulling. I ran. Door 313. The door 313. The door 313. Until I found one that wasn't labeled. Just a peephole. No number. No knob. I leaned close, inside. The girl. Smiling. Holding the original list of 11 rules. Burning the 12th. She mouthed something. "Start over." Then she stepped aside. And I saw myself again. This time asleep in the bed. First night. Before anything began. A loop. A prison. She was the warden. I screamed and slammed the viewer into the wall. The brass shattered. My hand was free. And I was back. In the room. Door locked. Note on the bed. "You looked. Now we see you." The note lay on the bed like a dark promise. "You looked. Now we see you." I stared at it, trembling. The room around me felt alive, breathing, its walls contracting and expanding like the ribs of some great beast. The stale air pressed close, thick with the scent of mildew and burnt paper. I could almost taste the dust on my tongue. The mirror hung on the wall, cracked but still reflecting the world door, some twisted version of it. The reflection of myself stared back with eyes that never blinked, lips curled into a smile that wasn't mine. It was as if I were trapped behind glass, watching a stranger live my nightmare. A silence so complete it hurt filled the space. Then, from somewhere just beyond reason, came a knock. Slow, measured, insistent. 1.2.3.4. It wasn't coming from a single place. It echoed, bouncing off the ceiling, the floor, the walls. Each knock carved a hollow into my chest. Rule 11. Leave no lights on when you check out. I wasn't checking out. There was no escape. The knocks intensified, becoming a relentless pounding. 5, 6, 7. My hands instinctively covered my ears, but the sound wormed through, drilling into my skull. It was no longer just noise. It was a presence, a summons, a death sentence. I stumbled back toward the bed, heart hammering, breath ragged. The bed was made neatly, the sheets smooth, but cold to the touch like a tombstone's marble. My eyes darted to the door. It creaked open slowly, releasing a shadow that soaked the light from the room. She stepped inside. The figure was mine, and yet not mine. Her face was distorted, half melted like wax, mouth twisted in a scream that didn't make sound. Her eyes were endless black holes that devoured every flicker of hope. She didn't speak, but the room screamed around her. The knock ceased. The silence pressed in even thicker. I was frozen, rooted in place by fear and disbelief. She raised her hand, gnarled, claw-like fingers stretching toward me. "You broke the rules," she whispered, voice like ice scraping bone. I wanted to run, to scream, but no sound escaped. My limbs felt heavy, as if gravity had doubled. "Now, you belong to room 313. Her smile widened impossibly, revealing rows of jagged teeth. The mirror shattered completely, glass raining down like deadly needles. Cold wind swept through, extinguishing every light. Darkness swallowed me. The silence that followed was deafening. Then a single knock. One final knock. On the door of my soul. And I knew. There was no leaving room 313. No waking from this nightmare. Only the eternal cycle.